Michelle again. She's just lucky we stopped at one of those bottles.
They shouldn't have made them taste so good.
Yeah. We got to find out if anybody's coming from Australia because we need 6 cans of VB.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot cheaper to send them in a suitcase.
Well, good evening, gentlemen. Oilers coming off a disappointing loss to the Vancouver Canucks. Merry Christmas. We have gone global tonight. I've got in the middle with me Chris Bloke Franklin, and on the far right is extra Lars Callieou. Welcome, fellas.
Hey, man.
I have not spoken to Chris Franklin since he left Canada, and he just found out that I opened a bottle of his booze and drank it all. So that's a good start to this podcast.
And you've been down at Soho enjoying the game too tonight, haven't you?
That's where we drank all your booze.
Oh, great. They don't sell it there?
No, I don't know. I don't think they ever again there. But absolutely disappointing. Vancouver has a talented team, and our defense and goaltending has been exactly what it was tonight all season. So what are we going to do?
Yeah, I thought that the first goal that went in, Stu was very unlucky. He blocked it. It went straight up in the air and then came down off his shoulder and went in. And that sort of set the tone for the rest of the night. I think this should be a very short podcast because the Oilers were booked to play 60 minutes, and I believe they only played 6, the first 6. So we should just do a 6-minute podcast.
In tribute, yeah. That was actually a nice goal by Derek Ryan to start it off, too.
It was fantastic, yeah. It was amazing that first period we had 9 shots in the first 6 minutes and then only another 3 shots for the rest of that period, the final 14 minutes. No, another 4 shots, and 2 of those 4 shots resulted in our goals.
Last time you both were on, we were talking about your jersey there, Chris, number 19, and it seems like, now we're wanting to talk about goaltending again. I thought Skinner was okay, just a couple of bad bounces. And the Oilers seem to have this problem with third string goalies in the other net and can't solve them.
Yeah, and Vancouver's goalie tonight has got no NHL experience and played a cracking game. Made some great saves.
I see you shaking your head, Lars.
Well, this is the story. How long do we need to keep this goaltending coach around? And I'm not blaming the goaltending coach because I realize our defense is spotty, but how many goaltenders do we have to go somewhere else and play better than they did here? How many, unlucky bounces? How many, he let in one soft one? How many? We're talking 15 years of one unlucky bounce a game. We went a season where 14 goals in a season were scored on the first shot. The first shot of the game, we were down 1-0. How many seasons do we have to go? I've never met him, and I bet he's a beauty of a human being. I bet he's a wonderful person. By all accounts, he's a heck of a coach. But how many coaches have to come and go? How many GMs have to come and go before we finally cut this goaltending coach loose? And I not before Christmas. Don't fire somebody right before Christmas. Anybody who is new, yeah, sure. Anything is better than. And for your listeners who might not know who Chris Franklin is, and they might have. Your listeners are legendary, so most of them probably saw him. He's been on this podcast twice before, and I've only been on it once. Chris Franklin, you probably know from his accent that he was born and raised in Prince George. He's an actor who has been working on this bullshit Australian accent for like 3 years. And it's like, oh, good eye. Oh, mate. Oh, what's up, mate? Oh, good eye. So
that's a pretty good chopper read, Lars.
I don't even know what country that accent's from. The one that Lars listed.
Oh man, we got a cracking game. So he was born in Prince George and grew up in Edson, and and now he's like, oh, I'm from down under, mate. Fly me kangaroo. Oh, 6 white bloomers or whatever. So
this is like that Weirdo Yankovic biopic where none of it's absolutely true at all.
So I'll tell your listeners, Chris Franklin is a legendary comedian from Australia, and born and raised just outside of Melbourne, and has become an Oilers fan over the past 5 years, and went 3 years without missing an Oilers game. Sorry, I got a text message. I apologize for that. 3 years without missing a single Oilers game. The first Oilers game he missed was because he came to Canada in January and had a show, because the show scheduling allows him to see all the games. He wakes up at 4, 5, or 6 in the morning to watch Oilers games. And when he starts talking Oilers, you'll find that he has the enthusiasm of somebody who didn't watch through the dark years. So this is somebody who still has the youthful exuberance of, somebody whose kid is like 6 or 7 years old and is like, yay, Oilers. And you're like, yep. And we have like a callus from the gun. Like the hose from my tailpipe fits perfectly in my window now after watching this team for as long as we've watched them. And he's like, man, we have arguments all the time because he's so excited about the team and he loves them so much. And when he hangs out with Froggy and he goes to Soho, and he's been to 3 games now, he's a massive, massive, massive Oilers fan with more enthusiasm for the team than most of us have. So he keeps me going as an Oilers fan, because when I watch a performance like tonight or last night or 5 nights ago, I'm like, I sat through all those dark years, and Chris Franklin's like, oh, good eye. Throw to the shrimp on the barbie. Which, now, I do have to say 2 quick things, if I can do a couple of plugs. I had to leave Soho before the Nervous Flirts started. So Mike Brazo and the Nervous Flirts are one of the greatest bands in the history of Edmonton. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Mike Brazo and the Nervous Flirts. I love them so much. They're just so wonderful. And perhaps most important, Chris Franklin just had another grandchild born yesterday. So I wanted to say to him, the most exciting thing and the most important thing in the world is family. Friends are amazing, but family is the most important. Dirsa, how you treat your family and your sons and how proud you are of them. I don't have any kids, but how you treat them and how proud you are of them is my favorite thing in the world. And the team I love this team and I'm a fan. But I wanted to say congratulations to Chris and Michelle on their grandchild, and the daughter that they had who delivered the child, Tegan. I'm going to meet her and the baby at the same time. So it's going to be really, really exciting. But truly, congratulations to Chris and Michelle on their new baby or new grandchild. And I'm so excited about that. So that's the end of my plugs. And now we can talk about our mediocre defense and our spotty goaltend.
Well, that's all we've got time for tonight, guys.
Lars, you kind of teased that you have a new girlfriend on social media there. So, you released one picture there, and, people kind of gave you a bit of a hard time. So you kind of released another one. And, I've been doing the math on this, and I think I'd like to ask Pat Zajac if I could solve the puzzle.
Sure.
Lars and the real Ned.
Lars and the real Ned. That is for your listeners. So Ned Townsend is a comedian. Ned Townsend, you're going to recognize him from Twilight. I'm like blushing because that joke is so funny. Townsend is an incredibly funny comedian from Australia and has the exact same shine and bounce as the person you're talking about. And you know what? I'll reveal it. I'll reveal it on your podcast because no one on social media knows, and I think it's very exciting. So yeah, I guess I could show. Make sure I'm centered. So this is who he's talking about, everybody. This is the
one end
right there. Yeah. So that's for anybody who hasn't seen her on social media. That is her right there. So that's very exciting. As you can see, oh my goodness, look! I mean those eyebrows, right?
That is Ned Townsend.
That is. It might be Ned Townsend. So. Yes. So Ned Townsend and I are we're official now. I think that's very exciting.
And that's all we have time
for. That's all we have time for. That's going to be our intent. Dirsa, what do you think of that contract from Skinner's contract?
Yeah, $2.6 million for 3 years. And you know, I think it's good. Complaining about Mike Smith though, and him almost having the same save percentage as Skinner. You know, that's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind, I guess. But to get him for 3 years at that, I can handle that. Maybe it'll push Jack Campbell to pick up his game. Yeah.
I was going to say, remember, Skinner's not our number one. He's meant to be our backup goalie.
I don't think he's meant to be a backup goalie. I just don't think he's a starter yet.
But he's had to lift.
But he's kind of a tweener right now. He's in between playing like a starter and playing like a bit of a backup or just a young guy trying to figure it out.
As everyone knows, he's an Edmonton boy who loves that team and dreamed of playing for it as a child. So he's going to give everything that he can for that team, I reckon.
Yeah.
I feel like 2.6 at 3 is what we should have got Koskinen for.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that he got the deal that he got. Like, that was insane.
But if you look at it from the perspective, of where Jack Campbell's playing to where Koskinen's playing, I mean, it almost makes Koskinen look like a bargain.
Yeah, fair. A million, yeah, a million cheaper. That's true. Now I'm a huge fan of statistics. A huge fan of statistics. It's probably one of my favorite things in the world. And pardon me?
I said, what are the odds of that?
That's actually pretty good. Hey, do your non-Australian accent now. When I look at goaltending, I think of the past 15 years where I'm expecting a 914, a 915, a 916 save percentage. Now I realize that the league average with smaller equipment, the league average is closer to that 910. So if we're looking, 910, 98, 9. If we could get a goaltender close to that, even I just want somebody in the top. I mean, every team, every fan in the world wants them to be in the top half. But boy, if we could get some like our goaltending save percentage in the top third, this team would be unstoppable. And again, it always falls back on the defense where it's inexperienced defense and cutting Keith loose. And I think that this is a bit of a bridge deal at 2.6, but I think we got a guy who in a year or 2 years, that is going to seem like an absolute steal. So I think that this is one of the best signings we've had in the past 6 years. I don't know a better signing in the past 6 years. And I'm a fan. Man, I wanted that Lucic signing to be great. I wanted to get 18 goals a year out of him, and I wanted him to play on Connor's line, and I wanted him to thump anybody who looked at Connor wrong. So for me, I think the Skinner deal is a heck of a deal. And I think Campbell, we took a shot, and I thought he was going to be better than Fleury, who's one of my favorite players in the world, and I just love him to death. As a fan, like as a person, as a goalie, I thought Fleury was a worse choice than Campbell. And then Matt Murray, same deal. I felt like we got a guy who had a chance, and it's the same as every time the Yankees sign a pitcher who's just a couple of years past his prime. You want him to just give me 18 wins, and they don't. And that's Campbell's. I wanted Koskinen's glove to be good. Man, I wanted Smith to, be great. And every fan in the world, every team, every coach, every GM wants their goaltender to be in the top third, and they're not. Campbell, I'll go on record as to say I don't think he'll ever recover. I think this 5-year deal is we took a shot and we missed. And I hope that Skinner picks up the slack and Campbell can be a heck of a backup. I hope that I'm wrong about that. I liked the Campbell deal. How did you guys feel about it? How did you guys feel when you heard that deal?
I was very excited about it. I had on one of the streaming services here in Australia watched a season of the Leafs with when they had Hyman and Jack Campbell as a rookie. And he stepped up that year in that series I watched. So when I heard he was coming to the Oilers, I was very excited for it. And I hope he can find his game again. It's there. It's just not working with the Oilers at the moment.
And it's our defense. I think that. What about you, Mr. Dursa, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted, some consistency in net and not as much high risk as you had with Mike Smith. And I think we've got that, but, it hasn't been good for Jack Campbell to start the year. But I sort of think he reverts back to some of his career numbers. So I think we've seen the worst of him, and he'll get better. I just don't know how much better he's going to get.
That's what we're all hoping, I think.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about how much of that Campbell stuff is on the defense? Like, I know we don't have much cap space, but can we get somebody who is, can we bring somebody in at the deadline who can steady that defense and be a solid number one? Because I've listened to all of the podcasts and read all of the articles, and I don't know who we can get who would make a difference. I don't know.
Well, for the amount of cap we've got, there's no one we could get.
Yeah.
And I always have been and still are a huge fan of Darnell Nurse, but he has made some very un-Nurse-like horrendous mistakes throughout the course of this season. And sometimes this year, I believe he just looks lazy. He's not doing the Darnell Nurse defensive things that we've seen him do in the past.
I'm not sure it's laziness, but, missing, Dash will hate this, but missing Duncan Keith, I think puts Nurse out there more in pressure cooker kind of situations. And a lot of these big mistakes that are really magnified come late in the game when he's already played, over 25 minutes, and it's too much. And I think it's been exposed that they need to get somebody to replace Keith, like another good left shot D kind of veteran player. And they also need, somebody on the right side. Barry and Bouchard are almost the same player. So I think they need to look for a defenseman that plays a mean, nasty game. I think that's sorely missing. They have too many pretty players, guys that make nice passes and do that, but not the guys that are beating the hell out of you in front of the net and in the corner. And I really think that's what they need. And I think those kind of guys are available, and I don't think they cost a fortune. So, yeah, I think they can do something about it. I just don't see anything really happening till the deadline, though.
Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? We've got McDavid having a probably his best year.
Career season, yeah.
Draisaitl number 2 to him in the NHL. Nuge having is on track for his most points in a season.
Yeah.
And we're still struggling to hang on to that wild card spot. So,
yeah, and Hyman's quietly having a great year too.
And people like Barry and Bouchard are scoring as well. There's not as much pressure on our big two to get the scores now because a lot of the rest of the team are scoring this year. But those guys are still getting record points.
Yeah, they still need a little bit more from their bottom six. Like recently, they've started to play better, but they still need more out of that.
And I mean this goes now. We never had like limited cap space, especially with the Koskinen thing, and we had a lot of dead cap space. Sekera, I think, was a problem for a while as far as cap space. Everybody has that kind of stuff, but our bottom six as a group, who did we get from Nashville who played for us like the last 2 seasons? He was a pretty good player for Nashville, and then he did nothing for us for a long time. Smaller player, doesn't really matter. And we bring in all these guys who are, you hope that they produce a little more than they're supposed to, and then they just don't. And do I have an opinion about Puljujarvi?
I'm with you on that completely. I know your opinion, and I agree with you completely.
Yeah, it's this is a player who I loved. The fact that we picked him before Tkachuk, I was like, whoa, I can't even believe he was available. I was over the moon when we got him. And then he needed to develop. Everybody needs to grow. Everybody needs to develop. He's just not an elite level finisher. Every time it's a scoring chance where he's in the front of the net, he shoots it directly into the goalie's pad. He shoots it directly into the goalie's glove. He shoots it directly into the goalie's chest. He's just not an elite finisher. And he's not. And the fact of the matter is his shooting percentage is an abomination. He is, and people, you can talk about all the metrics you want. You can talk about all the statistics you want. He is, and somebody I love. I wanted him to be great. Same way Luch. I'm rooting for the team. I'm rooting for the players as individuals. So I posted on Twitter. I'm like, Puljujarvi is just not an elite finisher, and people got really mad. I'm like, how can you argue the fact that you watch him? Like the eye test is he's in front of the net, and he has an opportunity where Draisaitl would have put it in, McDavid would have put it in, Hyman would have put it in, Kane would have put it in. Now I realize that it's rare to find players at that skill level, but he's not even average. This guy, I want him to catch on somewhere else. I want him to succeed somewhere else. And I hope whoever we get in return for him also succeeds. The same way I felt about Ethan Bear. This is somebody who I loved, but he had one season where I was like, this kid is going to be amazing. And then he fell off enough where I'm like, if we send him somewhere else and he gets a fresh start, I hope that he succeeds. And I'm rooting for them as people.
On a positive, he played a good game tonight.
Yeah, and I love that. So yeah,
right.
Yeah. So we got to get rid of in that contract of Puljujarvi. What do you think about that, Dirk? So you think we can move this guy ever for anything?
I think right now he's not a $3 million player. I think that's pretty obvious. If there was anything available for him, I think it would have happened already. Like I think it, I like the guy and he's a good kid, but it hasn't really worked for him here. And, I think he's being a real good sport about it, but I think he knows too that it's just not fluid here for him. It's such a struggle, and maybe he does catch fire somewhere else. I love the fact that he's defensively responsible and he plays a game that you don't get angry at because he's doing things well. Like it's very rare that he costs you much of anything, but you don't really propel forward because of it either. Like, yes, I know he keeps a lot of pucks in the zone and all that, but you're right. I mean, he can't cash.
It's just not finishing.
And for me, when you get into a funk like that as a player, the best way to get out of it is to go to the net and get tap in goals and just like, draw everything in, make it closer, and get easy ones, and that isn't even happening.
And he acknowledged it himself with that interview he did, that he copped a lot of stick over. But
yeah, and to me that was nothing. Like that isn't going to wreck a team. They're stronger than that. He expressed himself. If you can't have that go on in a dressing room, you don't have a team.
Yeah, and
I'd prefer him to be saying that he knows he's not playing as well as he should be for the
sure.
team.
He's honest with himself.
Yeah. I had a funny tweet. So Yamamoto scores a goal, and anybody who follows, by the way, you can follow Chris Franklin at Bloke Franklin on Twitter, and I'm extra Lars everywhere. So Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, blah blah blah. EXTRA Lars. So you can follow us. So I said, whenever I'm tweeting about the Oilers, I'm trying to be silly and supportive. So I'm a fan. I want the team to win. I want the players to succeed. I want everybody to outperform. And the tweet I sent was, Yamamoto, I got some good news and I got some bad news. And this is my tweet. I got some good news and I got some bad news. And they're like, what's the good news? And I go, Yamamoto has scored twice as many goals as Puljujarvi. And then my fake narrator character is like, what's the bad news? And I'm like, and I didn't finish it. I'm like, it's 2-1, like 2 goals to 1 goal.
Yeah.
So it's like a silly joke. And people got mad. Like if you go find that tweet, like if you just search like Puljujarvi Yamamoto extra Lars, you'll find the tweet and you'll see people getting angry. And I'm like, I'm a comedian. I'm a stand-up comedian. I've been a comedian for 20 years and you're getting mad about a very clear, decisive, definitive joke. Not only that, but I'm like, I'm like, yeah, and I'm an Oilers positive guy. I'm like, Oilers positive. Well, Yamamoto has outscored Puljujarvi 2-1. How many goals he scored? Well, 2-1. Like, and it's the silliness of it.
Yeah.
So when we won a game, 6-5, and I tweeted, well, we know that Campbell's going to let in 4 or 5 goals every game. All we have to score is 6. Easy. And that's the joke. Like, easy. Like, all we have to do is score 6 goals a game and we're going to win. And it was like how any hockey fan, even a casual hockey fan, could misinterpret that as anything serious. I'm like, I'm being silly. We won the game. I'm rooting for the team. And if somebody's like, that's why our goaltenders don't perform, because the media and social media run them out of town. And I'm like, oh God. Like, I'm making a joke, like literally making a joke. And second of all, we won the game, so I'm rooting for it. And we're not going to get there. Hopefully he doesn't let in 4 or 5 goals a game. Like if that happens, we're in big trouble, which he has. His goals against average is over 4. I think it's 3.98 or 3.90 or something. 4 point whatever. So I'm like, I'm a fan of the team and I want them to win. But here's a guy who he's letting in 4 or 5 goals a game, and I'm going to make a joke about it. Now, this is a professional athlete. This is somebody whose job it is to stop goals. If they can't handle the media scrutiny, and I say this with great kindness, I did not tag him in that tweet.
Right.
I did not. I was not making fun of him as a player. I was not making fun of him as a person. When Lucic was going through his struggles when he was here, I hope that all of my tweets were clearly a joke and he was never tagged. These I'm not taking shots at them as human beings. These are real human beings and real people. Yeah. And it's a game. I care more about your kids and your family. I care more about your health and your well-being. That's what I care about. So I hope that when people read my tweets, they realize the silliness of them and the fun and the levity I'm trying to add to being Oilers fans, to being a fan of this team. I mean, Chris Franklin has woken up, set an alarm at 4 a.m. in Tasmania, Australia, to watch an Oilers game. That's not regularly. Every time we have a noon, you think the Oilers hate noon starts? Like, if you think Oilers hate noon starts, if you're in Tasmania, Australia, you hate noon starts because you have to set your alarm for 4 a.m. So we're fans, and we want the team to win, and we want them to succeed. If you follow me on Twitter, I just want you to know, please know that I'm being silly, and I'm not trying to run Puljujärvi out of town. I'm not trying to make fun of Yamamoto. I'm trying to have fun with it, not at the expense of other people, but to make the fans enjoy a little more. I love this crazy thing, both comedy and hockey.
What's crazy is
Well, I'll just correct you there, mate. I don't always set the alarm for 4 a.m. Sometimes I'm still up from the night before. So,
yeah. Fair point. Fair point.
Hey, Dirs, would you have anything you could put in this center square on the podcast? Because unfortunately, it's 5 to 5 in the afternoon, Christmas Eve here, and we've got to go to a Christmas Eve dinner. So I was wondering if you could just put a cardboard cutout of me in the middle or something, and just continue on with the podcast.
I can probably just switch to me and Lars, maybe.
Or you can tell everybody you're actually in Prince George and stop pretending like, oh, Mike, we got to go throw another shrimp on the bobby. We got to go. Oh, we got a new baby. We got to go protect it from dingoes. Why don't you say you got to go protect the new grandchild from dingoes? I would use the C word if we were in Canada.
I don't even know what language you're speaking, man.
Oh, that's fair. It's like a Kiwi, South African, English, Australian hybrid.
Yeah, nice.
Give Michelle a hug for me. Pardon me? Oh, yeah.
I was just asking Dirs how he went.
Yeah, you can scoot if you need to.
Cheers, man. Sorry about that. Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a great holiday period, and we'll see you on another one of these after another Oilers game sometime.
Merry Christmas, guys, and congratulations on the baby.
Thank you.
I'm just going to try to move your girlfriend into the screen here.
I'm going to work out how to leave the meeting.
I think you're nailing it.
Oh, we don't even need that then, though. Yeah. He kind of let me know that he might have to bolt to Christmas, but thanks for sticking around.
Of course. So what do you think? I mean, 500. I mean, that's after last season. After what, like, you think we can go get to the same place we did last year?
I don't know. Like, now the only guy really that we're missing out of the normal lineup is Kane, and it's probably another month, month and a half before he's back. Yeah, so I think this team needs to work on the deficiencies it has right now, and that's and to me that's on the back end.
Yeah, which has been nice. Is his phone still on? All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn it off.
I love it. It's midday in Edson.
5 in the afternoon.
He probably would fit in right in Prince George, to be honest. I think he might have been on.
He's actually the first show he ever did in Canada was in Prince George.
Yes, it was. I don't know how to get out of a Zoom meeting.
Just close the app.
Or that big red leave button.
No, that's fine. You can use that one if you want. Now he messed up everything. Now I look like the fictional.
Yeah.
The fictional girlfriend.
I just have to work on you here.
No problem.
Oh man.
So I'll do the audio for the listeners while we. Yeah, can you compete against somebody like Colorado? Can you go up against Tampa? Can you, Florida even at this point? Does this team have what it takes to get past that? And it seems like this is a 20-year problem now with spotty goaltending. It seems like, it really seems like, and I can shift this too, just so you know. I can move it closer. I didn't want to make it look like the Christmas tree was coming out of my head. So, it's one of those situations where it's like, perfect. I'll move over there just a little bit. There we go. So the tree's not coming out of my head. That was the goal. That's a picture of New York, our fans. Christmas. I want the team to win. Also, this is my undershirt. It's from Route 66. It's the warmest shirt I have, but it looks like I'm wearing a choker. So that was actually pretty funny. I like to wear chokers under my what did you think of the Makar call off a penalty call?
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never even heard of that, honestly, in all of my sports, where somebody
There's one. I can think of one.
Where somebody is that honest to say, nope, didn't do it.
Here, I'll move this closer too. Slide that up. There you go. Let me know if that doesn't mess up with your angles and everything too much.
Yeah, you're good. You're good still. I just have to do a little cropping.
There was a professional tennis player named Jack Sock. So Jack Sock, there was a serve, and so you're talking about that. There was a serve, and it was in, and it was called out. And he was the receiving player, and he said to I think it was somebody famous, like I think it was Djokovic or Nadal or somebody who had served, whoever had served, he said to him, challenge it. And the player who had served the serve where it was called out said, well, you could see him like, what? And he goes, challenge it. And he's like, I challenge? And then when they showed the replay, it was in. And he told his opponent to challenge the serve because it was actually in. And as far as sportsmanship, as far as kindness, thoughtfulness, playing the game, and one of my favorite quotes in the history of the world was and I can move this too. You want me to move that a little bit?
You're okay.
There you go. One of my favorite, look how Christmassy that is. And a New York thing.
Back on schedule.
It's a Grantland Rice quote. And the quote is, so if you look up Grantland Rice, his name's Grantland, which is an interesting name, but Grantland, it goes, when the one great scorer comes to write against your name, he marks not that you won or lost, but how you played. And when I think about players like Cam Neely, when I think about players like a Jerome McGinley, when I think about players who played with class and respect and honesty, Makar is so talented that it hurts my feelings. But the fact that he was like, I just lost an edge. Don't call a penalty on that. And they were calling a penalty. And that shows sportsmanship and love for the game. I want to win, and I want to win honestly. And I want to win in a way that shows real sportsmanship. And because he beat us so badly, and his thing was offside, for sure it was. There's no doubt about it. I absolutely loved how that shook out, and it shows how much somebody loves the game. So I thought it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's just, you really don't see that. Like even just basic plays, when a guy fires it over the glass and that kind of stuff, they're always pleading that it hit something, and it's always the other way. Like they barter for, a no call versus yeah, I'm guilty. Like you don't see that. Like I asked Brett Luchansky, like Surveyor Brett in our group chat, like he's a ref, and I asked him if he'd ever seen that before, and he said yeah, once. I was gonna call a tripping call, and then this guy said yeah, he never touched me. So, but you just don't hear that like in all of sports. Like,
Yeah, it's classy. It's classy, and I love it. It is exactly. I tweeted, if you go to Extra Lars, I tweeted, this is exactly my jam. This is somebody who treats life with respect and somebody who is a classy person. And as far as Luchansky, could we have like a catchphrase for him? Like, can you guys do this? So when you go like he's a ref, can we air quotes him every time? Like, I would love it if we just like, so a good friend of ours who's a ref, in your face, Luchansky. I mean that.
He's not watching.
He will. I'll send this to him.
Yeah,
I'll make sure he gets it. Also, I message him all the time. So Norm Shaw, a very good friend. I was watching the game tonight with Regan, his brother. Norm Shaw was a ref for in the WHL for 8 years. So these are guys who have real reffing skills, real reffing knowledge. And whenever I have a question, I message Norm or Luchansky. I message them and ask them honest questions because I don't know the rules as well as they do. And I want to know if my interpretation of it was what I thought it should be. And about 10% of the time, I'm absolutely wrong. 10% of the time, I'm absolutely wrong. I didn't know you just had to be within a certain distance of the bench. That one when Kadri scored in the playoffs last year, and it was like, I thought there was too many men, and they were like, it's being like, as long as you were in the process of the change.
Yeah.
So there's many times when I'm wrong and I ask questions because I want to know. I don't just want to be a fan who's railing away about like, oh, it was no. Our ref friends know the rules because those rules have happened many times, and I really, really respect Norm and the ref Luchansky. So yeah.
When McDavid went down on that shorthanded chance there, I was irate. But then I watched the replay, and he's skating towards the bench, and he wiped out, giving the ref a piece of, he was tearing a strip off him, and he wiped out again. I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, Connor. You might have think you got tripped, but maybe you should go check your skates because I think he needed his skate sharpened. But I was pissed. I was like, yeah, they hold him down on a breakaway. And then I watched that after, and he wipes out skating towards the bench, ripping the ref.
Yeah.
So tonight, Connor scores his 30th in 35, and he is having 30 goals before Christmas. The last time it happened was 1986 when Wayne Gretzky did it. He's in elite company right now.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I think we should trade him. I think his trade value right now. I think if we trade him, I think we could get $15 million. I think we could get Jimmy Carson.
Bernie Nichols.
I think we could get Bernie Nichols. Plus, we could keep the Gainers plant open. I feel like now's the time. I mean, this is a player, and I said this the last time on your podcast. I was at a game. I go to 2 games a year if I'm lucky, and I watched him blow around a defenseman at a game, live game. And I turned to this guy who was beside me, and he was probably 65 or 70 years old. And I turned to this guy and I said, "That's the fastest player I've ever seen."
Yeah.
And this 70-year-old guy turned to me and said, "That's the fastest player I've ever seen."
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
Oh man. And his ability to work at speed, like this is Todd Marchand, Pavel Bure. I mean, Pavel had great hands, but not anything like being able to function like you're traveling at a pedestrian speed. He handles that puck at full speed like it's nothing. He is otherworldly. And when you go and you watch all of the highlight stuff and you realize this is something we've never seen. And I'm going to send this to Reed Wilkins because before we won the draft lottery to get McDavid, I was on talking to Reed Wilkins on his radio show. And I said, everybody's talking about this kid. Is he going to be that great? And he said, well, he's playing in a harder league than Crosby played in, and he's putting up more impressive numbers. So, yeah, this might be a generational talent like we haven't seen in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I was like, meh. And Reed Wilkins said that to me. And I called into his show about a week and a half ago. And he said Dubnyk was I was like, hey, this guy in junior was supposed to have a real pedigree. He was supposed to be, somebody that was going to develop into a really good goaltender. And he said, yeah, I could see him as a Vezina candidate at some point in his career. And this is before he was playing for the Oilers and he wasn't really performing all that great. And I said that to him on his radio show, and he's like, I don't know if I said that. I'm like, no, I remember. I've called into his show twice a year for 10 years, and all of the questions that I've had for him, like, is Connor supposed to be that much better than Crosby? Now, keep in mind, Crosby's got 3 cups. So I would trade all those statistics for one, and I'm sure Connor would too. So the fact that Crosby's putting up the season that he is now, this is a guy who's just an absolute monster. So when I say that, that McDavid is a little not considerably and whatever, he's better. He's better than Crosby was and is. But I mean, Crosby is one of the greatest players we've ever seen since the NHL was founded. So I'm not dismissing Crosby's greatness, but this kid is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's insane. It's insane.
Crosby has, the accolades to go with it, right? I mean, he's got the cups, he's got his Olympics, World Juniors and all that to go with it. So I really hope this team can kind of right the ship, and this year isn't a complete write-off, although I am kind of the opinion that Ken Holland was taking this season kind of not really off, but I think it's a build for next year, to be honest, and that'll hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I think that's kind of the mentality. In saying that, though, I think it's going to be up to this group to stay in contention till the deadline, and they will make some moves at the deadline. But I can see with like the guys, like there's a lot of youth still on this team. It's kind of more in the bottom 6, but also on the defense. Like, it's not a very veteran D at all, other than Barry and Nurse. Well, I guess 4 of them are, but we fill in with Bouchard. Kulak's not really a rookie, but kind of a younger guy, and then you see like Niemelainen and Broberg kind of there, and so you're sort of working with 3 kind of younger players when they dress 11 and 7 on their D, and another year behind Bouchard I think will really serve him well. Like, I heard a conversation, I think it's Jay from Oilers Network and Tyler Yaremchuk were kind of going back and forth about Bouchard and Nurse a bit, but on the Bouchard front, Jay was kind of saying, well, maybe this is who Bouchard is, and last year was kind of not the norm, that this year is the norm. And I'm kind of thinking, you know what, with Bouchard, I think this is just a sophomore slump with him, and I think he'll be fine. I think there's a hell of a defenseman there that just needs to grow a little bit. And I think he's more suited to be an offensive defenseman than a defensive defenseman, but I do think he will figure out the defensive aspect of the game. And I think they really need to hone in on a guy that stay-at-home, in-your-face, Jason Smith, Gator, cross-check in the teeth kind of defenseman. I think that's what they need.
Yeah, I didn't expect Adam Larsson to be that, because I didn't know anything about Adam Larsson before he joined us, and he was a Jason Smith-esque defense. He was punishing. It was Kevin Lowe. It was And do we have any dead cap space? Because I was really looking forward to this year because we could spend some money when we got rid of the Smith, the Koskinen. We got rid of Keith. Like, we opened up a lot of cap space, and what do we have to show for it? So do we have something next year to look forward to as far as getting some stuff off the books?
There will be a little bit of that, but really I think this year, your cap space got swallowed up. Nurse's kind of extension,
right?
Jack Campbell and Evander Kane. Like,
right.
Kane's a little bit of
Kane's
Kane's a little bit of a forgotten kind of asset that we have, right? And I think it's fair to assess this team with the product they have on the ice right now, because you're not going to win a Stanley Cup with the defense playing the way it is. Can they play better? Yeah, but are they good enough? I don't think so.
Right.
But I cut them a little bit of slack because I know that if Kane's out there, it opens up their offensive game, which might actually make their defensive game better too, because they're not going to spend as much time in their own end.
Yeah. All great points. And I didn't know about, because I was so excited about this year when you say Holland was like, this is a bit of a, developmental year. And when we look at, I don't know why I drew a blank on his name, 55.
Oh, Holloway.
Yeah. The Holloway. I was like, Holland. I had Holland stuck in my head. So I think Holloway is going to really surpass like a Puljujarvi and a Yamamoto. He's gonna move up and steal their spot. I hope he does. So that I'm optimistic about. I think you're absolutely right about Bouchard. I think that Bouchard is going to become somebody that's really amazing, whether it's an offensive or two-way. But this is a guy who, when he led in shots and points, like in junior, he led. Like, this is a guy who hits the net, who picks his spots. He's such a fun player to watch, and I'm so excited about his future. We just have to have a couple of players perform better than they are. We need a couple of players to those late round draft picks that develop. The Robertson, somebody who you got in the second round, the third round, that just all of a sudden becomes somebody, and that's the difference. Is one or two players who weren't supposed to be superstars become superstars. People weren't expecting that of Draisaitl, and he's, I think, probably easily one of the top 5 players in the NHL right now, but possibly in the top 2. So I want that to develop. I want our young-ish, inexperienced-ish defensive core to start performing. I want to see Skinner to outperform a $2.6 million contract. I want to see Campbell regain some form. I want to see Kane come back and score 35 goals, 40 goals in a season. Because when you put Hyman on one line and Kane on another line, and you have Draisaitl and McDavid, whoever the other person is on the line is somewhat irrelevant. Like, that other person will collect points. And the fact that we have somebody like Nuge who wanted to stick around, I thought he would have wanted to split. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, I want to say, if you're watching this, or if anybody sends this to you, I am so grateful you chose to resign here. I love you so much, and I just want you to know I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. He's the best. Like, this is such a great two-way, hard, like, I just love him. So I'm really, really happy about that. And I want us in the next, before Connor's contract is up, I would love to see those kids hoist the Stanley Cup, just like any other fan for any other team. But, when I look at what I love about having you as a resource, Dash, certainly Mike Hebert, all of those people, when I have questions that are a little bit higher level than my knowledge, as a pretty good fan, like I'm a real fan, I message you guys and go like, hey, what do you think of this? And so when you ask me to be on the podcast, I'm so excited to come on because I get to hear a bunch of answers to questions that I've had for the whole season. So it's fun for me that way because I get to learn stuff.
You sprinkle in some humor into the hockey talk, which is good too. I appreciate when you come on. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's almost like I get to put my feet up and you ask the questions. But no, it's good. As a fan of this team, I just want to see them do well. I mean, it's a lot of fun going to the city for playoff games and that whole scene, and never hurts my feelings to take out Calgary in a playoff series. But yeah. But yeah,
I love that.
It's
that was the best.
It took me a while to get over actually dropping Game 4 to the Avalanche, because we had that game kind of in the bag and it got away from us.
Yeah.
And you never know, if you win one game in a playoff series, the whole thing can turn. Like, it doesn't happen every day, but sometimes teams come back from being down 3 and and all of that. And I just, you know, '06 was a great ride, and I know George the Rack still feels bad about losing that and whatever, but that was a great ride. It just wasn't quite meant to be. I mean, really going down, but them still going to Game 7, I thought was amazing, and those guys have nothing to feel bad about. But you know, with this group, they need to win a cup, and
Oh yeah.
it needs to happen. And I still think it's 2 years away, but you know, if they can stay in contention and you know, you make a couple of deals, all of a sudden you're right there. I mean, when Kane is back and he's healthy, that forward group is as dynamic as any in the NHL. Darnell Nurse is a hell of an athlete. He's had a tough year, and it hasn't been good. I thought he was good tonight until the fourth goal, and he was laying on the ice again and victimized for another one of those goals. But I think at that point, when Vancouver went up 3-2, I think it was lights out anyway. It just
Yeah.
wasn't our night.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all right. I have to run, but I want to say this. If anybody's on social media, I follow everybody back, and we do this fun at the start of the season every year. We do an Oilers follow for follow, which connects a bunch of Oilers fans, and I love that everybody participates in it. It's a lot of fun. So it's just extra, like EXTRA, Lars, on everything. And I follow you back. So if you want, if you're on Instagram or Twitter, go to Extra Lars, follow me. I'll follow you back, and then you can unfollow me, and you'll gain a follower. It'll be fun that way. Also, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas. I hope you guys all have a safe and happy holidays. Please, as silly as this sounds, don't drink and drive. You need a ride, send me a message on Twitter. If I'm around, I'll come give you a lift. I'm not even kidding. And if you need a boost, I'll come boost you. I want you to be safe and get home to your loved ones. If you guys are looking for something to do on New Year's Eve, I have a comedy show at the West End of Edmonton on New Year's Eve. I've been doing comedy for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Send me a message and I'll tell you the details. But keep supporting the podcast. I love talking to these guys because I'm not smart enough to know everything they know. So I get to come on and ask them all kinds of questions. So keep supporting these guys and go follow Luchansky. He's a ref. So that's he'll answer all your refereeing questions and rules you might have.
Thanks everybody for watching wherever you get this on. Always a few people chatting on the chats from YouTube, so thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me, Lars and Chris earlier. Keep your sticks on the ice. Keep reaching for the stars. Go Oilers, go. And I think we get Calgary after the break when we come back for the last game of the season. Our third meeting after such a great playoff series that set records for NHL viewership. We got to play him 3 times this year. Way to go, Bettman. Anyway, good night, everybody.